My daughter told me she didn't want to visit anymore because her mom's new husband feels more like a real dad. I said, okay. 2 weeks later, the judge agreed, permanently. The divorce happened when Autumn was 6. Standard custody, every other weekend. For 2 years, it worked fine. Then my ex-wife met Trevor, married him 8 months later. At first, the changes were small. Autumn would mention Trevor took her to the park. Trevor helped with homework. I smiled because that's what good co-parents do. Then she stopped calling. Our visits felt strained, like she was tolerating me. One Sunday, I asked if she wanted our favorite pancake place. She wrinkled her nose. Trevor makes better pancakes. Something twisted in my chest. The visits became painful. Mini golf was boring compared to Trevor's golf simulator. My apartment felt cramped after his 5-bedroom house with the pool. I wasn't competing with another parent. I was competing with a lifestyle I couldn't afford. The final visit was 3 months ago. She asked to call her mom. Disappeared for over an hour. Came out with her face red. What's wrong? I want to go home. With Mom and Trevor. I don't want to come here anymore. Why not? Because it feels more like a real family there. I took her home that afternoon, 3 days early. Monday, I received the court papers. Sole custody petition. Trevor's adoption pending. Statements from her therapist. Testimonials from teachers. A letter from Autumn. I love my dad, but I love Trevor more. He feels like my real dad now. My lawyer said, fight it. But I kept thinking about her face. I'm happier there. How do you fight your child's happiness? The hearing lasted 45 minutes. Questions I couldn't answer. Why the emotional distance? Why wasn't I more involved? Trevor had replaced me. Money and stability created something I couldn't compete with. The judge awarded full custody. Trevor's adoption could proceed. 2 more supervised visits. Then nothing. That was 7 years ago. 7 years of silence. 7 years in the same city where my daughter existed 5 miles away, but might as well have been on another planet. I blocked my ex-wife. Deleted social media. If I was being erased, I needed to accept it. Work became everything. Anything to avoid the apartment with Autumn's drawings on the walls. 3 months later, grocery store. Autumn laughing at something Trevor said. Perfect catalog family. I hid in the cereal aisle, sat in my car trying to breathe. My therapist said I was experiencing grief. Losing a living child to adoption was trauma without a roadmap. 6 months after the adoption, unknown number. Hello? Breathing. Then a small voice. Dad? My heart stopped. I miss you. She was crying. Nobody told me that once the adoption happened, you wouldn't be my dad anymore. Not legally. Can I see you? Just once? I wanted to say yes, but one visit would restart a cycle I'd barely survived ending. I don't think that's a good idea. Please, Autumn, you made your choice. You wanted a different family. I can't be someone who pops in and out of your life, but you're still my dad. No, Trevor's your dad now. That's what you wanted. I'm just the person who used to be your dad. She sobbed. I hate that I can't take it back. Then my ex-wife's voice. Autumn? Who are you talking to? The line went dead. Next morning's cease and desist letter. Do not contact Autumn. So I didn't. Not on her 10th birthday. Not on Christmas. Not ever. But I thought about her constantly. 2 years passed. Empty years where I existed but didn't really live. Then one night, everything changed again. The first month after the custody ruling felt like living underwater. Everything was muffled and distant. I'd wake up on Saturday mornings and forget for exactly 3 seconds that I didn't need to clean the apartment for Autumn's visit. Then I'd remember. And I'd just lie there staring at the ceiling. My parents stopped calling as much. I think they didn't know what to say. My dad had been a constant presence in my life growing up. The idea that a child could just legally replace their parent felt impossible to him. But it happened. It was happening. It had happened. Work became my entire existence. I picked up extra shifts, stayed late, volunteered for projects nobody wanted. Anything to avoid going home to that second bedroom that still had Autumn's drawings on the walls and her bookshelf full of books she'd outgrown. I should have packed it up, turned it into an office or storage, but I couldn't bring myself to erase the last physical evidence that she'd been part of my life. My coworkers noticed. Asked if I was okay. I'd smile and say I was fine. Just going through some stuff. They'd nod sympathetically and not push further because nobody really wants to hear about your problems anyway. They just want to feel like they asked. 3 months after the custody ruling, I saw them at the grocery store. Autumn was in the cart, even though she was way too old for that, laughing at something Trevor said. My ex-wife was checking her phone. They looked like a catalog family. Happy. Complete. Like they'd never had a piece missing. I ducked into the cereal aisle before they could see me. Stood there shaking among the Cheerios boxes until I was sure they'd checked out. When I finally made it to my car, I sat in the parking lot for 20 minutes trying to remember how to breathe normally. That night, I blocked my ex-wife's number, blocked her email, deleted all my social media accounts so I wouldn't be tempted to search for updates about Autumn's life that I was no longer part of. If I was being erased, then I needed to accept the erasure completely. My therapist said I was experiencing grief, that losing a living child to adoption was a unique trauma that didn't have a roadmap. There were no casseroles or sympathy cards for people whose kids simply chose someone else. She asked me what I thought I'd done wrong. Everything. Nothing. I didn't know anymore. I'd worked full-time to pay child support, which meant I couldn't be at every school event. I'd lived in a modest apartment because child support took a third of my income and rent in our city was insane. I'd tried to make our weekends special, but special couldn't compete with normal everyday life in a big house with a pool. Maybe the mistake was staying in the same city, watching from a distance while another man became the father I'd tried to be. Maybe I should have moved across the country, started over somewhere nobody knew I'd once had a daughter. But moving felt like giving up. And I'd already given up enough. My mother would call every Sunday. Same time, same questions. How are you doing? Have you thought about dating? Maybe you should join a gym or take a class or find a hobby, as if a hobby could fill the hole where a daughter used to be. I stopped answering on Sundays, started letting her calls go to voicemail. She'd leave long messages about cousin so-and-so getting engaged or neighbor what's-his-name having a new baby. Normal life updates. Like my life could ever be normal again. 6 months after the adoption was finalized, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Hello? There was breathing on the other end. Then a small voice. Dad? My heart stopped. Autumn. I'm not supposed to call you. Her words came out in a rush. Mom took your number out of my phone, but I remembered it. I used to call you all the time before. Sweetheart, I miss you. She was crying now. I know I said I wanted Trevor to adopt me, and I do love him, he's great. But I miss you too. And nobody told me that once the adoption happened, you wouldn't be my dad anymore. Not really. Not legally. I didn't know what to say. The adoption had been her choice. Her letter to the judge had been clear, but she'd been 9 years old. How could a 9-year-old understand the permanence of that decision? Can I see you? She asked. Just once? I wanted to say yes. Wanted to drop everything and pick her up and never let her go. But I also knew that one visit would restart a cycle I'd barely survived ending. I don't think that's a good idea. Please. Her voice broke. I just want to see you. To tell you I'm sorry. I didn't understand what I was doing. The line went quiet except for her crying. Autumn, I said carefully. You made your choice, and that's okay. You wanted a different family and you got it. I'm not angry with you. But I can't be someone who pops in and out of your life now. It's not fair to either of us, but you're still my dad. No. The word came out harder than I intended. Trevor's your dad now. That's what you wanted. That's what the court said. I'm just the person who used to be your dad. She sobbed harder. I hate this. I hate that I can't take it back. Then I heard my ex-wife's voice in the background. Autumn? Who are you talking to? The line went dead. I sat on my couch until 3 a.m, staring at my phone, waiting for it to ring again. It didn't. The next morning, I received a cease and desist letter from my ex-wife's lawyer. I was not to contact Autumn under any circumstances. Any further communication would result in a restraining order and possible harassment charges. The letter outlined specific threats. If I tried to see Autumn at school, if I showed up at her activities, if I contacted her friends or their parents, if I drove by the house, any of it would result in immediate legal action. I read the letter 17 times, looking for some loophole. Some way this wasn't real. Some way I wasn't being threatened with arrest for trying to maintain contact with my own daughter. But she wasn't my daughter anymore, not legally. The adoption had severed that tie permanently, so I didn't contact her. Not on her 10th birthday, not on Christmas, not ever. But I thought about her constantly. Wondered if she was happy. Wondered if Trevor was teaching her to ride a bike or helping with homework or taking her to father-daughter dances. Wondered if she'd even remember me when she was older. 2 years passed like that. Empty years where I existed but didn't really live. My therapist suggested antidepressants. I took them for a while. They made everything feel muted and distant, which was somehow worse than feeling everything too much. The medication made me numb. I could go through my day without breaking down, could make it through holidays without the crushing weight of Autumn's absence, could smile at work and pretend I was fine, but I wasn't fine. I was just medicated. And there's a difference. I quit therapy after a year, stopped taking the medication, started running instead. Miles and miles until my legs burned and my lungs screamed, and I was too exhausted to think about anything. Running became my religion. 5 miles before work, 10 miles on weekends, half marathons every few months. My coworkers joked that I was training for the Olympics. I didn't tell them I was just trying to outrun memories. On what would have been Autumn's 12th birthday, I finally packed up her room, boxed all the drawings and books and stuffed animals, put them in storage, repainted the walls, bought a desk and filing cabinet and converted it into a home office. My mother cried when she saw it. You're giving up on her. I'm not giving up. I'm accepting reality. But I wasn't sure I believed that either. The thing nobody tells you about losing a child to adoption is that the world doesn't stop. Bills still come. Work still demands attention. Life continues happening around you while you're frozen in grief. I learned to function, to go through motions, to be the person people expected me to be in public while falling apart in private. Work became my entire identity. I got promoted, then promoted again. Started traveling for conferences and training sessions. Spent more nights in hotel rooms than in my own apartment. It was easier that way. Hotels didn't have ghost rooms where a daughter used to sleep. My boss praised my dedication, said I was the most reliable employee he'd ever had, always willing to take the difficult assignments, Always available for weekend work. Always first to volunteer for travel. He didn't know I had nothing else. That work filled the hours so I didn't have to face the emptiness at home. I dated occasionally, nothing serious. How do you explain to someone that you had a child who legally stopped being yours? Most people didn't understand. They'd ask if she died, and I'd have to explain that no, she chose to replace me with someone better. That conversation killed any potential relationship pretty quickly. One woman lasted 3 months. She was kind, patient, tried to understand. But eventually she said what they all eventually said. You're not really here. You're always somewhere else, thinking about her. She was right. Even when I was present physically, my mind was elsewhere, calculating how old Autumn was now, what grade she was in, what she might look like, whether she ever thought about me. On the morning of Autumn's 13th birthday, I did something I'd been resisting for years. I created a fake social media profile and searched for my ex-wife's account. Found it immediately. It was public. And there was Autumn. She'd grown up so much. Looked more like her mom now. Long hair instead of the bob she'd had at 9, braces, teenage clothes I didn't recognize. In every photo, Trevor was there, teaching her to surf, helping with homework, posing at what looked like a dance recital. They looked happy. I scrolled back through years of posts I'd missed. Birthday parties, holiday cards with Trevor, my ex-wife, and Autumn posed like a perfect family. School achievements, sports teams, vacations to places I'd never been able to afford. A complete life that didn't include me. There wasn't a single photo of me, not even the old ones from before the divorce. It was like I'd been photoshopped out of existence, like those first 9 years of Autumn's life had never happened. One post from Autumn's 11th birthday showed her blowing out candles. The caption read, "So grateful for my amazing family. Best dad in the world," with a photo of Trevor. I stared at that post for an hour. Best dad in the world. She'd called me that once, when she was 6, after I'd taken her to the zoo and let her stay up past bedtime to watch the stars. Now Trevor was the best dad in the world, and I was nobody. I deleted the fake profile that same day, blocked my ex-wife's account from my computer, promised myself I wouldn't look again. That promise lasted 3 months, then 6 months. Then I stopped counting. Every few months I'd create a new fake account, check in on the life I was no longer part of, torture myself with evidence of Autumn's happiness without me. I knew it was unhealthy, knew I needed to stop, but it was the only connection I had left, even if it was one-sided, even if she had no idea I was watching from the shadows of her social media life. 4 years after the adoption, I met someone at a work conference. Her name was Isabel, and she'd been through something similar. Her ex-husband had moved to another country with their son. She hadn't seen her kid in 6 years. We understood each other's specific brand of loss, the kind that didn't get sympathy because the child wasn't dead, just gone. The kind where people said helpful things like, at least you know they're safe and maybe they'll come back to you when they're older. Isabel and I would meet for coffee every few weeks, trade stories about our ghost children, the birthdays we celebrated alone, the holidays that felt hollow, the constant wondering if we'd done something different. Could we have changed the outcome? We dated for 8 months. It was comfortable, easy. Neither of us expected the other to be fully present because we both had ghosts we were living with. But comfortable isn't enough to build a life on. We ended things quietly, stayed friends, still texted occasionally when the grief got too heavy, and we needed someone who understood. She was the only person who never told me to move on, to get over it, to accept that this was for the best. She understood that some losses don't heal. They just become part of who you are. I was 39 when my father had a stroke, major one. He survived but needed full-time care. My mother couldn't manage it alone. I moved back home, quit my job, became a full-time caregiver. It gave me purpose again, something to focus on besides the daughter-shaped hole in my life. Dad couldn't speak well anymore, but his mind was sharp. He'd watch me with these knowing eyes. One afternoon, while I was helping him with physical therapy, he grabbed my hand. "She'll come back." His words were slurred but determined. "When she's older, she'll understand." I nodded because what else could I do? My father needed hope even if I'd run out of it years ago. But sometimes, late at night, when Dad was asleep and the house was quiet, I'd let myself imagine it. Autumn showing up at the door, saying she'd made a mistake, saying she wanted me back in her life. Then I'd remember the cease and desist letter, the adoption papers, the photo of Trevor labeled as the best dad in the world, and I'd push the fantasy away. He died 9 months later, peaceful, in his sleep. The funeral was small, extended family, a few old friends. I stood at the front of the church and delivered a eulogy about a man who'd been the best father I could imagine. And I didn't think about the fact that I'd been a father too, once, briefly, before I was replaced. My mother sold the house after that, moved to Arizona to be near her sister, told me I should consider moving too, starting fresh somewhere warm, somewhere without memories. I said I'd think about it. Instead, I stayed in the same city where my daughter lived 5 miles away but might as well have been on another planet. I got a new job, smaller company, less demanding, started volunteering at a youth center on weekends. The youth center was full of kids from broken homes, kids whose parents had abandoned them or chosen drugs or simply disappeared. I helped them with homework, listened to them complain about their situations, watched them struggle with the unfairness of it all. And I never told them that I understood, that I was the parent who'd been abandoned, that I knew what it felt like to be chosen against. One Saturday afternoon at the center, a girl came in crying. She was maybe 14, said her parents were getting divorced and she was terrified everything was going to change. I let her talk, didn't offer solutions, just listened. Finally, she asked, "Do you have kids?" The question hung in the air. I never knew how to answer it anymore. I had a daughter once. What happened? She chose a different father. The girl looked confused. Can you do that? Apparently. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, do you think she regrets it? I don't know, and I never will. The girl wiped her eyes. I'm sorry. That's really sad. It is. But you move forward anyway, because you don't have a choice. She nodded, then went back to her homework. And I went back to pretending I'd actually moved forward. That conversation stayed with me for days, weeks, months. Do you think she regrets it? I'd spent 7 years assuming Autumn was perfectly happy, that the adoption had been the right choice, that Trevor was everything I hadn't been. But what if she wasn't? What if she carried guilt? What if seeing me erased from her life had been traumatic in ways she'd never expected? I'd never know. That was the cruelest part. No closure, no resolution, just an endless wondering. I turned 42 on a Tuesday. My mother called from Arizona. Isabel sent a text. A few coworkers took me to lunch. It was fine, unremarkable, like most of my life had become. That evening, I sat in my apartment scrolling through streaming options and not really seeing any of them. I'd gotten good at filling time without filling the emptiness. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something about the timing felt significant. Birthday? Unknown number. Some superstitious part of me wondered. Hello? Silence. Then breathing. Then a voice I hadn't heard in 7 years. Dad? My entire body went cold. Then hot. Then numb. Autumn. I know I'm not supposed to call. Her voice was different. Older. But still recognizably hers. I'm 16 now. I found your number in some old documents in Mom's filing cabinet. I've been staring at it for 3 weeks trying to decide if I should call. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe, couldn't process that after 7 years of silence, here she was, on my birthday, on the other end of the line. I need to see you, she continued in a rush. I need to talk to you. There's so much I need to say and I know it's been forever and I know I don't have any right to ask, but please, please, can we meet? Every rational part of my brain screamed no. Screamed that this would destroy me. Screamed that I'd barely survived losing her once and couldn't do it again. But she was my daughter, and she was asking to see me. When? Tomorrow? She sounded so hopeful. So young despite being 16. There's a coffee shop on Maple Street. Do you know it? I'll be there. What time? 2 o'clock. And Dad? Don't tell Mom. She can't know. Trevor can't know. They think I'm at a friend's house studying. Okay, thank you. Her voice cracked. Thank you so much. We hung up and I sat in my apartment shaking. After 7 years of nothing, she wanted to see me. Tomorrow. At 2 o'clock. I didn't sleep that night. Just paced and wondered what she looked like now beyond the social media photos. What she wanted to say. Why she'd reached out after all this time. Part of me wondered if this was a trap. If my ex-wife had put her up to this to get me to violate the cease and desist. If there'd be lawyers waiting at the coffee shop ready to arrest me for harassment. But another part of me didn't care. If I could see Autumn one more time, it would be worth whatever consequences followed. At 1:30, I parked 2 blocks from the coffee shop. Sat in my car until 1:55. Walked in at exactly 2 o'clock. She was already there, sitting in a corner booth, looking at her phone, and she was beautiful. Long, dark hair like her mother, but my eyes, my nose, my hands, a mixture of both of us that made my chest ache. I walked over slowly, trying to memorize everything about this moment in case it was the last time I ever saw her. Autumn? She looked up and burst into tears. I slid into the booth across from her, completely frozen. Not sure if I was allowed to comfort her. Not sure what my role was anymore. Not sure if touching her would violate some legal boundary. I'm so sorry. She was sobbing. I'm so sorry. I was 9 and stupid and I didn't understand. Nobody explained what it meant, that you wouldn't be my dad anymore, that I couldn't just change my mind later. I thought it was just about who I lived with. It's okay. The words felt automatic. Empty. It's not okay. She wiped her face with her sleeve. I erased you. Mom and Trevor erased you. And I let them. I have all these memories of you and nobody talks about them. It's like you never existed. Like those first 9 years of my life just disappeared. People in the coffee shop were staring. A teenage girl crying with a middle-aged man. I could see them calculating, wondering, judging. Why now? I asked quietly. Why are you here after 7 years? She took a shaky breath. Because I'm applying to colleges, and I needed my birth certificate. And when I found it, your name was crossed out. Like literally crossed out with black marker. And Trevor's name was written in. And it hit me what I did. What we all did. We erased you. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to tell her it was fine, that I'd moved on, that we could just start over. But another part of me was so angry, so hurt, so broken from 7 years of grief she'd caused. I think about you all the time, she continued. Every birthday, when Trevor does something special, I remember how you used to take me to the arcade. Every time we go somewhere nice, I remember our small apartment and how you'd make pillow forts in the living room. Every time Mom talks about what a good father Trevor is, I want to scream that you were a good father too. But I chose him anyway. The bitterness in her voice surprised me. I thought Trevor was better because he had money, because he had a big house, because he was home more. I was 9. I didn't understand that being present isn't the same as being a good parent. What do you mean? She looked down at her coffee cup, spinning it slowly. Trevor is fine. He's perfectly fine. He pays for everything. He shows up to stuff. He follows all the rules. But he's not you. He doesn't know me the way you did. He tries, but it's like he's playing a role. Perfect stepdad. He does all the right things, but none of it feels real. And Mom is different now. She's obsessed with appearances. Everything has to look perfect. Be perfect. We take a million photos for social media, but nobody asks how I actually am. It's like I'm a prop in their perfect family instead of a real person. I wanted to feel vindicated. Wanted to be glad that the grass wasn't actually greener. But mostly I just felt sad. For her. For me. For all the years we'd lost. I miss you, she whispered. I miss my real dad. Not the idea of a dad. You. I'm not your dad anymore. The words came out quiet but firm. Trevor is. Legally. Permanently. That was your choice. I know. She was crying again. But can't I have both? Can't we just start over? And there it was. The question I'd been dreading. Because I knew my answer would hurt her. But I also knew I couldn't survive losing her twice. No. I said it gently. We can't. Why not? Because 7 years ago, you chose to have Trevor adopt you. You wrote a letter to a judge saying I didn't feel like a real dad. That he did. And I accepted that. I let you go. I grieved you like you died. And I rebuilt my life without you in it. She started to protest, but I kept talking. If I let you back in now, what happens? We have coffee a few times? Sneak around behind your mom and Trevor's backs? And then what? You go away to college. Meet new people. Get busy with your life. And I'm left waiting by the phone again. Hoping you'll call. Hoping you'll visit. Hoping I'm important enough to fit into your schedule. I can't do that again. I can't be the parent you remember fondly, but don't actually want in your daily life. I can't be your backup dad. I want you in my daily life, she insisted. I want to know you again. To tell you about school and my friends and everything. I want you to help me pick a college. I want you to meet my boyfriend. I want you to walk me down the aisle someday. I want all of it. But your mom and Trevor don't want me in your life. They made that clear 7 years ago. And you agreed with them. I was 9. She was almost shouting now, drawing even more looks from other tables. I was a kid who wanted a backyard pool and a stepdad who was home for dinner. I didn't understand what I was giving up. I know. And I don't blame you for being 9. But I can't let you rip open a wound that barely healed just because you have regrets now. The barista brought over napkins, asked if everything was okay. I nodded. She retreated but kept glancing over nervously. We sat in silence. Autumn cried quietly. I tried to keep my own emotions in check. Tried not to think about how much I wanted to say yes. How much I wanted to believe we could fix this. How much I wanted my daughter back. But wanting isn't enough. Hope isn't enough. Love isn't enough when the law says you're nothing. Finally, she looked up. So that's it? You're just going to walk away? Again? I never walked away, I said firmly. You left. Your mom took you. The court took my rights away. I would have stayed in your life forever if you'd wanted me to. But you didn't. And I can't spend the rest of my life desperately hoping for scraps of attention from a daughter who chose someone else. She flinched like I'd hit her. That's not fair. None of this is fair, Autumn. Not to you, not to me. But it is reality. I stood up, put $20 on the table for her coffee, even though she hadn't touched it. For what it's worth, I added, I'm glad you're okay. I'm glad you have a good life, even if it doesn't include me. And I hope you go to a great college and find everything you're looking for. Don't go. She stood too, grabbing my arm. Please, I need you. You needed me when you were 9. You need Trevor now. And that's how it has to be. I pulled away gently and walked out of the coffee shop, got in my car, drove 3 blocks, then pulled over and sobbed until my ribs hurt and my eyes were swollen and I couldn't breathe properly. I'd imagined that conversation 1,000 times over 7 years. Imagined Autumn coming back, apologizing, begging for another chance. In my fantasies, I always said yes, always forgave her, always welcomed her back with open arms. But reality was messier, more painful, more complicated, because saying yes meant giving her the power to leave again, and I wasn't strong enough for that. She called 17 times that night, left voicemails begging me to reconsider, texting that she'd made a mistake, that she loved me, that we could fix this. Each voicemail broke my heart a little more. Dad, please pick up. Dad, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Dad, I need you to understand. I was a kid. I didn't know better. Dad, you can't just walk away from me. That's not fair. Dad, please, please, I'm begging you. I listened to each one twice, then blocked the number after the 19th call. Because if I didn't, I'd cave. I'd call her back. I'd agree to meet again. And the cycle would continue until she left for college and forgot about me again. Better to end it now. Clean break. like ripping off a bandage. At least that's what I told myself. 3 weeks later, my ex-wife's lawyer sent another cease and desist letter. Apparently, Autumn had confessed about our meeting. They threatened me with stalking charges if I contacted her again, accused me of manipulating a minor, of attempting to interfere with illegal adoption, of causing emotional distress. The letter made it clear that any further contact would result in a restraining order and possible criminal charges, that I'd violated the previous cease and desist by meeting with Autumn, that only their generosity was preventing immediate legal action. I didn't bother responding, didn't hire a lawyer to fight it, just filed it away with all the other legal documents from a relationship that had been terminated years ago. What was the point? The law was clear. Autumn wasn't mine. Meeting her had been a violation. Continuing contact would be criminal. I was trapped. If I stayed away, I lost her. If I reached out, I went to jail. So I stayed away. 2 months after that coffee shop meeting, I got a letter, handwritten, mailed to my apartment. The return address was Autumn's. I almost threw it away without reading it, almost burned it like I wanted to burn every memory of her, but I couldn't. I opened it. Dad, I know you said we can't have a relationship. I know I don't have the right to ask for anything from you, but I need you to know something. When I'm older, when I'm independent, I'm coming back. I'm going to try again. And I know you said no, but I'm not giving up on you the way you think I gave up on you. I made a mistake when I was 9, a huge, irreversible mistake, and I have to live with that. But I don't have to let it define the rest of my life, or yours. So I'm going away to college. I'm going to grow up. I'm going to figure out who I am, separate from Mom and Trevor and their perfect life. And then I'm coming back. And I'm asking again. Maybe you'll say no again. Maybe by then you won't care. But I need you to know that I'm not giving up on us just because you have. I love you. I've always loved you, even when I was too young and stupid to realize it. Your daughter, Autumn. I read that letter 50 times, cried over it, analyzed every word, wondered if she meant it, wondered if I wanted her to mean it. I kept it, put it in my desk drawer, and tried not to think about it. But late at night, when I couldn't sleep, I'd take it out, read it again. Wonder if she'd actually come back in 5 years or 10 years. Wonder if I'd be strong enough to say no a second time, or if I'd be weak enough to hope. 3 years have passed since that coffee shop meeting. Autumn just started college, somewhere in California. I know because I still occasionally check my ex-wife's social media with fake accounts. I see photos of Autumn at move-in day, Trevor helping carry boxes, my ex-wife crying proud tears. The caption reads, "Our baby girl is all grown up. So proud of the woman she's becoming. Our baby girl, not mine, ours, Trevor's and my ex-wife's. They look happy, complete, like a real family. And I am alone, in my apartment, with a guest room that became an office, and a drawer full of drawings I can't throw away, and a letter I read too often. People ask me sometimes if I have kids. I've gotten better at answering. Usually I just say no. It's simpler, cleaner. Because trying to explain that I had a daughter who legally stopped being mine is too complicated for casual conversation, too painful for small talk. My mother calls every Sunday again, still asking the same questions, still hoping I'll move on, still not understanding that you don't move on from this kind of loss, you just learn to carry it. Isabel and I still text occasionally. She gets it. Her son turned 18 last year. She hoped he'd reach out once he was an adult. Once his father couldn't control the contact anymore, he didn't. Some children never come back. Some losses are permanent. I wonder if Autumn will be one of them. My therapist would say I have unresolved trauma, that I need to process the loss, move forward, find closure. But how do you find closure with someone who's alive, who might or might not show up in your life again someday, who wrote a letter promising to come back? Sometimes I think about moving, starting completely over, somewhere Autumn couldn't find me even if she wanted to, somewhere I wouldn't be tempted to drive by her old elementary school or the park where we used to feed ducks, somewhere without ghosts. But then I think about that letter. I'm coming back, and I'm asking again, what if she means it? What if in 5 years or 10 years she shows up at my door, and I'm not there? What if I'm the one who left this time? So I stay, in the same city, in the same apartment, living a half-life, waiting for something that might never come. Because even after everything, even after 7 years of silence and broken promises and legal documents that say I'm nothing to her, I'm still her father. Biology doesn't change. Paperwork doesn't change it. Adoption doesn't change it. I'm still her father, even if she has another one, even if she chose another one, even if I pretend I'm not. And maybe that's the real story, not about the daughter who chose someone else, but about the father who's still waiting, still hoping, still unable to completely let go, even when letting go would be easier, healthier, more rational. Love isn't rational. Fatherhood isn't rational. Last week I did something I haven't done in months. I created another fake profile, searched for Autumn's accounts. She has her own now, public, full of college life and new friends and experiences I'm not part of. One post caught my attention. A photo of her on campus with a group of friends. The caption read, "Finally figuring out who I am outside of expectations." I stared at that post for an hour. Outside of expectations. Was I an expectation she was trying to escape? Or was Trevor? Or her mother? Or all of us? In the comments, Someone asked if she missed home. She responded, I miss the idea of home more than the actual place. What does that mean? Did she miss me? Miss the life we could have had? Or was she relieved to be away from all of it? I'll never know. And that's the torture. I turned 45 last week. My mother sent a card. Isabel sent a text. My coworkers took me to lunch. Same as always. Another year older. Another year without Autumn. That evening, I pulled out her letter again. Read it for the 100th time. Wondered if she still meant it. If she'd come back like she promised. If I'd even recognize her when she did. 3 years down since that coffee shop meeting. Maybe 2 more years until she graduates college. Maybe 3. Maybe never. And so I wait. Living in the spaces between what was and what might be. Existing in the gap between father and former father. Carrying a love that has nowhere to go. Holding on to hope that might be foolish. Believing in a promise that might have been empty. My name is still on her original birth certificate. Buried somewhere in government records. Crossed out but not erased. Not entirely. And maybe that's enough. Or maybe it has to be. Because it's all I have left. The youth center called yesterday. Asked if I could take on more hours. More kids who need help. More broken families. More children trying to figure out where they belong. I said yes. Because even if I can't save my relationship with Autumn, maybe I can help other families avoid the same mistakes. Maybe I can be the person who explains to 9-year-olds that some choices are permanent. That adoption isn't like choosing a new favorite color. That replacing a parent isn't the same as getting a new phone. Maybe that's my purpose now. To be the cautionary tale. To be the father who lost everything because a child was too young to understand what she was choosing. Or maybe I'm just trying to fill the hours until Autumn comes back. If she comes back, 3 years down, however many more to go, waiting for a daughter who might never return, but might. And that might is enough to keep me here, in this apartment, in this city, in this life, living in the in-between, holding on to a promise written by a grieving 16-year-old who may or may not remember it by the time she's 21, hoping that love is enough, knowing it probably isn't, but hoping anyway, because what else is there? The volunteer coordinator at the youth center pulled me aside last week, said one of the kids had been asking about me. A 15-year-old boy whose dad had just abandoned the family. He wants to know if the pain ever goes away, she said. I thought about it for a long time. Then I said, tell him no. It doesn't go away, but you learn to carry it. And sometimes carrying it makes you stronger. Or at least that's what we tell ourselves. She looked at me sadly. That's not very hopeful. Hope is overrated. The truth is better. That night, I sat with the boy. He asked me about my daughter, how long it had been, whether I still thought about her. Every day, I told him. Every single day. Does it get easier? No, but you get used to it. Which isn't the same thing, but it's something. He nodded. Like he understood. Like he was already starting to accept what his life would be now. And I saw myself, at his age, before I had Autumn, before I lost Autumn, before I became this hollow version of a father. I wanted to tell him it would all work out, that his dad would come back, that everything would be fine, but I'd learned not to lie to these kids. They'd been lied to enough. So instead I said, it's okay to be angry. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to hate him for leaving. All of it is valid. Don't let anyone tell you to get over it or move on before you're ready. He started crying, and I let him. Because sometimes that's all you can do. Just witness someone else's pain and let them know they're not alone in it. When I got home that night, I took out Autumn's letter again, read it one more time. I'm coming back, and I'm asking again. Part of me wants to believe it, wants to imagine a future where Autumn shows up and we rebuild something. Maybe not what we had before, but something new, something honest. But another part of me knows better, knows that she's 19 now, living her life in California, making new memories with new people. Maybe she's already forgotten about the letter she wrote. Maybe it was just teenage emotion that faded with time. Maybe I'm the only one still holding on. I put the letter back in the drawer, turned off the lights, lay in bed staring at the ceiling like I've done 1,000 nights before. And I made a decision. Tomorrow, I'm going to write her a letter. Not to send, just to write. To say all the things I couldn't say at that coffee shop. All the things I've been carrying for 10 years now. Maybe it will help. Maybe it won't. But at least it will be out of my head and onto paper. At least it will exist somewhere besides my endless thoughts. I got up and turned on the desk lamp, found a notebook, started writing. Dear Autumn, it's been 3 years since I saw you at that coffee shop. 3 years since I walked away. 3 years since I read your letter promising to come back. I think about that day constantly. Wonder if I made the right choice. Wonder if I should have said yes. Wonder if pushing you away was protecting myself or punishing you. The truth is, I don't know. What I do know is that I loved you from the moment you were born. That I would have given you everything if I could have. That losing you was the worst thing that ever happened to me. But I also know that you were 9 years old. That you couldn't have understood what you were choosing. That blaming you for a decision you made as a child isn't fair. So I don't blame you. I never did. I was just angry at the situation. At Trevor. At your mom. At the court system. At myself for not being enough. You asked if we could start over. The answer is no. Because we can't erase what happened. Can't pretend those 7 years didn't exist. Can't go back to who we were before. But maybe we could start something new. Someday, when you're ready, when I'm ready, when we both understand what we're getting into. If you still want to come back, I'll be here. Not waiting, not hoping, but here, living my life, carrying your memory, ready if and when you knock on the door. And if you don't come back, that's okay too. You have a life, a family, a future. You don't owe me anything. Not forgiveness, not contact, not love. You're free. And maybe that's the greatest gift I can give you now. But know this, I never stopped being your father. The court can take away my legal rights. Trevor can take my place at graduations and weddings. Your mom can erase me from photos, but they can't erase biology, can't erase memory, can't erase the first 9 years of your life when I was your dad and you were my everything. That's permanent. That's real. That's ours, even if it only exists in my head now. So live your life, Autumn. Be happy. Figure out who you are. Make mistakes. Learn lessons. Become whoever you're meant to become. And if someday you want to include me in that life, I'll be ready to listen. But if you don't, I'll understand that too. Love, Dad. I read the letter 3 times, then folded it, put it in an envelope, sealed it, and I didn't mail it. Because maybe some things are better left unsaid. Maybe some doors are better left closed. Maybe some wounds heal better when you stop picking at them. Or maybe I'm just a coward, too afraid to reach out, too afraid of rejection, too afraid of hope. I don't know anymore. What I do know is that it's 2 in the morning, and I have work tomorrow. And life continues whether or not Autumn comes back. So I'll get up, make coffee, go to work, volunteer at the youth center, run until my legs hurt, fill the hours, exist, and maybe that's enough. Or maybe it has to be, because it's all I know how to do now. 3 years down since the coffee shop, 10 years since the adoption, 16 years since she was born, a lifetime of waiting, a lifetime of wondering, a lifetime of being a father to a daughter who doesn't exist in any legal sense, but exists completely in every other sense. And so the story continues, without ending, without resolution, without the closure everyone says you need, just a man, and a memory, and a letter that might never be sent, and a promise that might never be kept, living in the space between what was and what might be, forever in between, forever waiting, forever hoping despite myself, forever a father, even when I'm not.